Telecoms and media in the last decade or more has undergone a tremendous transformation both in terms of technologies and the way they impact the lives, whether it is in the business walk or in the personal lives of people. So one of the key things which we are observing or from our businesses, everybody wants to become the other service provider or wants to bundle more and more services to their customers. So the telecom service provider, being a pipe provider earlier, wants to pack more and more value-added services and offerings into his pipe to monetize his pipe better. And on the media side, the people who have been traditionally on the content creation and development and distribution is coming up with their own strategies on adding voice and data over to their customers. So what efficiently or effectively is happening is the blurring of industry boundaries have started to happening already. Okay, it's not just with media and telecom alone, but beyond that in terms of business, whether it is finance, whether it is what you call cable industry, all these guys are now getting into what we call the neighborhood seepage. So that's what we are observing. And for a company like Wipro, where we are very strong in IT as well as in networks as well as in other platforms and R&D, it gives us a lot of opportunities in the white spaces that are being created, and that is where we are positioning ourselves as an end-to-end solution provider across communication and media companies. If I have to take this question from a managed services perspective on the outsourcing model, different geographies have undergone different, they had different drivers to go for outsourcing as a strategy. The outsourcing as a strategy brought about in the emerging markets mainly for growth, because the way they had to put networks for markets like India or China and also the other emerging geographies in the APAC, there are a lot of pent-up demand which needs to be fulfilled in terms of first covering the audience or covering the subscriber base. Then it came to a matter of capacity, right? So you cover a lot of already subscribers in the network, so it was customer acquisition which was doing the outsourcing strategy for all these operators. And once you have the coverage, then you have to provide capacity for the high-end users in terms of data or voice and these things. So the third natural evolution is to, once you have all the technologies, all the networks in place, or it's equal for all the operators, how do you differentiate yourself from the rest? Because it's a crowded market, so customer experience is the only way you can differentiate yourself from each other. And so that is a natural evolution of business strategy for the operators who have seen that building networks and putting capacity is not very key to their sort of customer focus. While this can be done by other people who can do it better, they started focusing on customer experience. At the same time, the managed services model, which is also predominantly looking at how many base stations have we deployed, how many customers you have added, how much of airline of traffic you have put on the network, to more now in terms of what are your customer-facing KPIs? Are you helping me to meet my customer expectations? The managed services providers are being pushed into this sort of KPIs and SLAs by the service provider operators, and the managed services model is also evolving towards that. Right, so it is going to be much more complex when they start sharing active network elements like RAN sharing and spectrum and all those things. It is going to be much more this thing, and when it is going to be much mature than what it is today in the outsourcing, and the managed services providers have to be geared up for that sort of a demand which is going to come very quickly. So how far the operators depends upon in which stage the operator is in. If, as I told you, if you're in the growth stage, probably they will go quite far in terms of, so if you have to take an operator's activities, they call it the day 0, day 1 and day 2. So day 0 is all about strategy and design, which all of them will keep it to themselves, because that is what is close to they will decide the business, how it has to be shaped up and all those things. The day 1 and day 2 are good recipes for outsourcing. When I say day 1 is all about build and deploy, and the day 2 is all about operate and manage. So these are the two recipes which will go for outsourcing. And it again depends on the geography, what is driving that geography and what is driving those business in that geography. In low-cost geographies, cost reduction or cost takeout is a major challenge, which is now becoming prevalent across all the operators in the globe. But cost takeout is one of the things which will decide how far you will go. Second thing is, are you an incumbent? Are you a competitive carrier? Like if you are an incumbent, then your outsourcing needs will be different from that of an challenger, right? If a competitive carrier is coming, he needs to roll out fast, go to market. How do I put on my immediate services onto the market? So that will be between these day one and day two, that is where predominantly a lot of people will look at different levels of outsourcing, if I may say so, depending on what is their driver. And some of the areas in geographies like Africa, and some of them are also looking at skills, the new technologies and the skills required to put these sort of networks in place and manage it. That is another aspect or driver which takes these people to go for outsourcing. So it is very, you can't say, okay, this operators can go this much, or how far, what is the degree of outsourcing they can do from a perspective. But it is actually dependent on each and every operator, what is the appetite they have, and what is driving their market and the needs of that market. The multi-vendor scenario was existing for quite some time with the service providers, and the way they used to do is create that skill set within their own organization, or their own people used to do this stuff. In a managed services model, what happens is you are actually outsourcing some of the operations or the activities identified for outsourcing to your partner. And it's important to know whether that partner has got this capability of managing a multi-vendor environment. Normally, the traditional MSP providers are the OEMs like Ericsson, Alcatel-Lucent, Huawei, all these people. So when they were building networks and deploying networks, it was easy for them to do it because of their own products and their own technologies. But when they have to take up, because that was not enough, so no MSP can say, I have supplied you my wireless network and say core network, I will do only that, because there is other vendors, other technologies are also available. So it is important for them to look at it from an end-to-end perspective. And initially there were challenges with these OEMs, and today, because customer experience is being driven as the key theme, so everything is now an outside-in sort of a thing. Okay, if you have to do on customer experience, it will the traffic or the call or the data session will traverse multiple technologies and multiple vendor equipments. So it is important for them to stitch it together from an end-to-end perspective. While there are some challenges with some of the OEMs, quite a few of them have already started realizing this requirement, and they've started building this capability. Wipro, being a system integrator, which is vendor agnostic, we have picked up these multi-vendor capabilities already, and we support OEMs as well as operators to deploy and manage these networks. So from a approach perspective, if I have to say, the end-to-end service and the customer perspective is very important to look at how do you actually build and manage these multi-technology, multi-vendor networks. Okay, so from an offerings perspective, as you may be aware, Wipro is an IT services company, have a large capability in terms of telecom R&D. We were in telecom for the R&D business with all the OEMs, and also doing a lot of CAO side of the business with the OEMs as well as with the service providers. So as we were mentioning earlier, there is a need to do this multi-vendor end-to-end network management, and that is where our capability set keeps us a bit different from the rest of the group in two ways. One, we have this deep knowledge of telecom networks, services and technology from an end-to-end perspective, starting from the handset going up to the application layer. And also we have been engaged with the TEVs very closely, even from a product R&D perspective. So if we have to go to that level of support also, we are able to do it. So from an offerings perspective, we have consulting, which is, as I told you, we are just aligned to the way the operators are aligned to their activities, which is day 0, day 1 and day 2. So we offer consulting. When I say consulting, we do consulting in technology areas like IPv6 and consulting in customer experience management. and also consulting in processes and operational and delivery models, service delivery models, because operators have deployed multiple technologies, new technologies, next generation technologies, but their service delivery models have been the same. So moving from a single network, single service, now the operators are building multi-service single network, right? So in that way, your operational models or the delivery models also have to be equally tweaked or tuned to deliver this sort of a multimedia service experience. The second is engineering services. So we help build labs, network operation centers, and also testing from an end-to-end perspective, whether it is handset or networks or interoperability testing or managing lab environments. So this is and network engineering in terms of design and build and traffic engineering, audits. So this sort of product level management for the vendors. So we do this engineering services. The third piece is the service management or managed services, what we call the normal operations and maintenance. So our strength area is in this service fulfillment and assurance. When I say service fulfillment, we understand it from an IT perspective, we understand it from a network perspective, we understand it from a customer perspective. So that is the strength we bring onto the table, and that is where we feel that we are able to provide a lot of value to these service providers, and we are engaged with a couple of large service providers in this area. And once you understand the end-to-end service, which can stitch across, you would have deployed so many OSS platforms like inventory, problem management, fault management, performance management, that somebody has to stitch all these things together to make some real information insights out of it regarding how the service is performing. So that is where we are very strong. We also, since we understand the services in terms of service flows, underlying technologies, underlying processes, we are able to build the service intelligence over and above the network monitoring or the network element layer, right? So once you have the service intelligence, then it is easy for you to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So everything from a customer perspective, outside-in approach, customer, service, and then networks and technologies. That's the way we approach. Second thing is multiple technologies, multi-vendor. We are pretty comfortable in operating that environment. And as I told you, our existing relationship with OEMs and the service providers are helping us to move in that direction. The last but not the least piece is we have good understanding, deep understanding of IT. We have deep understanding of networks. We have deep understanding of the customer like BPO. So if you package all these things together, I think we have a compelling proposition to our customers in that way. When I said day 0, day 1, day 2 services is what we also aligned our offerings to, there is some other thing which we also do. We have helped some of the operators to actually set up B2B business. Okay, we have been helping a large mobile operator in setting up their enterprise, which is B2B business. And so how we are able to do that is, as I told you, Wipro is pretty much very strong in the industry verticals, whether it is banking and finance, or government, or energy and utilities, or manufacturing. So we have deep engagements with all these sort of clients from an IT services perspective. So we know what is, and we do a lot of infrastructure management, application development and maintenance for them. And we are able to bring this value from, because these are again a client for a service provider, right? It can be a DHL for a Vodafone, it can be a Citibank for an AT&T, like that. So these are the clients. So while we are working with these clients on these things, we know how exactly their business works. And it is easy for us to stitch these things together and provide that value to the clients. So for this Indian operator, which I was saying, we had actually helped them go and sell the offerings to the customer and help them in building that, setting up that business as well. So that is, which is way beyond what we have discussed. It doesn't come under consulting or it doesn't come under this thing. So while consulting can help you build a technology roadmap or a services roadmap, but this is something beyond in which we go to the customer and help them build their business. The other thing is that whatever engagements we do, while it has been predominantly a time and material mode of engagement, but slowly we are rapidly shifting into the outcome-based or a transaction-based sort of a model, wherein we also put our stakes with the customer, saying that okay, if together we achieve this, this is my gain I should be getting as a percentage of what we realize it together. So we also are able to put the skin in the game, saying that look, we claim these metrics to be achieved, and if we achieve, probably this is what we will be able to do together. So these are the couple of things which we are doing to help them in these areas. And because there is nothing like something what you call, you have a cookie cutter model, take and put it across every operator. So if a communication service provider is trying to get into the media space, the approach will be totally different. If a media guy like a Comcast or a cable company like a Time Warner or somebody is getting into the telecom space, the approach has to be slightly different. So while we are interacting with all these clients, we are able to bring that collective knowledge, and we have been talking to different customers across the globe. So we are able to share that experience, and that's the value the customer sees in us. So one I mentioned already. There's one more client which is a global client, again setting up their operations. So it's a multi-opco client wherein we are creating some sort of a factory model for them to create services. So it is about standardization of platforms, processes, tools, and also creating some sort of a catalog-based approach for their services. And here, again, the networks are there, the tools are there, the probes are there, everything is green on the network, but still they are not able to see what is wrong in the service layer. So we have helped them build this service intelligence over and above the top of this, and also do this multi-opco consolidation in terms of standardization of operations and things like that. So that's one case study which we are already, that project is on. Another, so this is totally on the operations side, which is a design, consult, build and operate. The other thing, we are helping an operator in Middle East to define their service management or service quality management roadmap, which will take them towards customer experience. So that is another engagement which is running. And so what we bring onto the table is traditional consultants will tell you what to do, or okay, what are these things you should do. So while we are able to do, we have people who have come from that background, who have come from that sort of environment, who have been there, done that. And it's not only we say this is what you should do, we actually help them execute it. So when I say, or when we go and pitch with the customer saying that it's not just a consulting, if you allow us to do, we will ensure it gets implemented as well. So we go to that level of detailing so that the customer is having that much of confidence with us. So a couple of experience, there are many more, but I think these two are something which will give you a flavor of what we do in consulting and what we do in operations.